Good morning, everyone. Hope you are all staying safe and healthy in this weird situation. My name is Hamed Sarouche. I'm the CEO of Petrolern LLC, and today I'm very pleased to ignite the Petrolern at-home seminar series with a very interesting topic presented by Dr. Jacob Jean from ULT Recovery in Houston. So the objective of this series is basically to keep people learning and motivated during this depressing time, with the hope that we all pass through this time safely and in good health. First, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the industry experts who accepted to give the talks, and also all the participants who, for their time and support. Our plan is to have 2 talks every week and cover a variety of topics related to oil and gas, geothermal energy, and carbon capture utilization and storage. So hope we can keep people excited and interested in the topics. We have already scheduled 6 interesting talks for April and 8 for the month of May. And currently we are working on the schedule for the month of June. So if any of you are expert in your field and you are interested in giving a seminar, please don't hesitate to contact either me or Petrolern and show your interest. Before I introduce Dr. Jean, I would like to ask everyone to mute their microphones and turn off their cameras to maximize the voice quality. If you have any questions, please type your questions in the chat section and make sure that you send your questions directly to me. There's a 2 sections that you can select to whom you send your questions. So Dr. Jean will kindly answer as many questions as possible at the end of the session. If for any technical or non-technical reasons you could not stay with us until the end of the presentation, don't worry. We are recording the talks, and we'll share basically all the seminars on our website at www.petrolern.com. So Dr. Jacob Jean is the CEO and founding partner of ULT Recovery Corporation based in Houston. He has an integrated industry, academic, and management experience across America, Asia, and the Middle East. He has been dedicated to deliver sustainable financial growth through innovation and sustainable product and process development. Prior to founding ULT Recovery, he worked at BP America, Weatherford, and the Energy and Geoscience Institute at the University of Utah. When working at University of Utah, Dr. Jean and Dr. Joseph Moore worked together to support the geothermal exploration and production in Tibet. Dr. Jean has published more than 20 papers in peer-reviewed journals and SPE conferences. He holds a
Hey, Hama, cannot hear you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello. Hello, this is Margaret.
I think we're here. I think Hamat lost it, something unplugged.
Hello everyone, this is Salah. I am also with Petrolern. So I think Hamid is experiencing some problems. So if you don't mind, Dr. Jean, please start the presentation until we get Hamid back on the line.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for everyone joining this online presentation. I'm glad to share the recent advances of field pilot of unconventional shale EOR in the Permian Basin conducted by our company. This project was sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy SBIR grant that was awarded to our company in March 2018, and the project was delivered to in the Permian Basin in July 2018. And after that, we watched the production data for 1.5 years, and to now we can give some conclusion to whether EOR has some potential in the Permian Basin or not. What kind of learning we can get from there. Okay, we are not using like a CO2 or natural gas half-ton path, not using surfactant half-ton path. I think many people are very familiar with that. We are thinking about using the biotechnology to unlock the reservoir value of the unconventional resource in the Permian Basin. Our company is specializing in conventional EOR. I think many of the audience are familiar with that. But since 2017, we have been dedicated to leveraging the experience from conventional to unconventional, and we did a lot of research. My background is similar to Hamad. I have geomechanical and hydraulic fracturing background, but I found that no matter whatever technology I try or fundamental research I do in hydraulic fracturing, I cannot increasing the recovery factor higher than 10% for unconventional shale oil fractured horizontal wells. So then I think there might be something we forgot in history. Then we went to look at the interaction between the rock and the fracture fluid. Then we identified there might be something we can do by using the biotechnology. In history, the technology has been awarded a lot of awards, from water oil awards and also some green technology awards. From the very beginning, the technology was sponsored by Statoil, by US DOE, and advanced by Glory Energy. In 2017, our team acquired the intellectual property from Glory Energy, and then we successfully converted the company from the EOR company only focused on conventional EOR to unconventional EOR. The project has been carried out all over the world, mainly in the US and also in China, in Canada, and in Gulf of Mexico also. This is our team. We have a team member with a different background, like the biotechnology background, the organic chemistry, the reservoir background, and the operational background. And we cannot emphasize the more important about the technology commercialization as a startup. So we keep a very close strategy research partnership with the universities and some successful entrepreneur with technology commercialization experience, like Sid Green. He's our advisor on technology commercialization, and he has been dedicated to understanding the fundamentals about enhancing recovery, maximizing the EOR for unconventional in the decades. And Dr. Gary Pope, as everyone knew about him, he spent a lot of time on chemicals, but we think about either chemical or the biotechnology or some other half-ton path technology. They are not enemies. There should be some synergy between different EOR technology. So we work very closely with Professor Gary Pope to work on the fundamentals, how to synergy chemical to the biotechnology. And then we also working with Professor David Weiss in biotechnology to understand about the very basic fundamentals of how the bacteria interact in the unconventional shale reservoir with the smarter students and with the professors in Harvard University. And we also keep listening to the industry, like Mr. Grant, he is in the unconventional in the Permian Basin, and John McClellan, and Professor Shaw, especially Professor Shaw, he was my advisor at the University of Utah during my PhD study. He spent all of his life on hydraulic fracturing fluid. Then I talked to him, maybe I'm going to spend all my life to remediate the reservoir polluted by the fracturing fluid chemicals. And he's very happy to support me in remediating the reservoir potentially polluted by the fracturing fluid. This is our lab. We have a chemistry lab and we have a biotechnology lab. We are doing the fundamental research to understand how the fluid, how the bacteria interact with the fracturing fluid chemicals, how we can unblock in the reservoir to enhancing the recovery factor. And we also have the field facility to support the operation. So fundamentally, we are based on the subsurface microbiology, but the technology can be applied but the technology can be applied in different areas, in unconventional, conventional, in the reservoir soaring, and also in the paraffin cleaning. Today's presentation, I'm going to focus on the unconventional EOR, our learnings in the past 3 years. Okay, the challenges in unconventional EOR, there are top 3 challenges. Number 1, extremely low EOR. The recovery factor, there are quite few unconventional wells has a recovery factor higher than 10%, and most of them are less than 6%. And that's for the decline curve. We can observe that in the first 1 or 2 years, the daily oil production will decline by about 70%. And then the end camera thinking about how to uplift the production decline curve. They are trying CO2 or natural gas half and a path or refractoring, but that's the game of $1 million, a lot of money, and mixed results. So I'm thinking about can we do something like can we spend less than $100,000 and they get the equivalent recovery factor as the refractoring or the natural gas half and a path? I guess it might happen. If you look at this kind of production decline curve in the Delaware Basin, this is the public data I take from some public company. You can see that the y-axis is the cumulative oil, the x-axis is the wells in different quantity, the number representing the number of the wells. You can see that most of the wells in 24 months, the cumulative oil production is about 400,000 barrels. But then if you look at the average daily oil production, barrel oil per day, in the 16 months, 12 months on average, 18 months on average, 24 months on average, you can see that the average oil production declined by almost 50%. But then if you look at the half year average oil production, this is the blue one representing the first 6 months average daily oil production. The orange one representing the average oil production in the second 6 months. The green one representing the third 6 months average product. The fourth one representing the average oil production. Then you can see the oil production decreased from 1,000 to 300 barrel oil per day. So we are thinking about how can we uplift that economically. I found someone asked the question or no? Some people is chatting. Hamad, do I need to answer the question now or I just continue? Hamad.
Jacob, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh,
but,
okay. Please continue to the end. So I'm gathering the question. I will ask the questions from you at the end.
Okay, great, because I found someone speak. Okay, I will do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. Yeah. So look at this, the figures on the right. The average oil production declined from 1,000 barrels from the first half year to the fourth half year to 300 barrels. So it declined by 70%. So our objective to understanding the fundamental mechanism attributing to this kind of rapid production decline, so that in future we are going to produce the wells at a relatively lower production decline rate and have a much higher EOR. And for the existing inventories, for the already depleted fractured horizontal well, like with the daily oil production like 100 barrel, 80 barrel, 50 barrel, instead of drilling and completing the new wells to maintain the total production rate for the company, can we not drilling and completing the new wells and using the EOR technology to maintain the production at a cost competitive approach, even at the low oil price, like $20 per barrel? I think it might happen. I'm going to talk about that. So the fundamental thing is bacteria is everywhere, and bacteria is in the water we are drinking every day. And in history, we believe that oil is converted from organics to the oil by the bacteria in several hundred millions of years ago. We do not believe oil is converted from the rock. So for the bacteria, after they used up the nutrients, and then they decided to sleep. But this is like the frog in the winter or snake in the winter. Then when the spring is coming, then the frog go out of the caves. But for the bacteria, their dominant time is not the 1 year, 2 year, it's a million of years. The bacteria pre-existing in the reservoir. What I'm going to do, I'm going to match the reservoir water with the additional nutrients to wake up the bacteria, so that then they can grow. When they grow, then they are going to using the fraction fluid chemicals as a kind of carbon source to degrade them. Then I'm going to talk about what kind of fraction fluid chemicals might attributing to the potential damage to the fraction network. This is the composite of the fraction fluid component: the acid, corrosion inhibitor, we add a friction reducer, surfactant, gelling agent, breaker, cross-link, and for friction reducer, there might be something we forgot it. I talked to a lot of operators. They told me, hey, Dr. Jin, I think there should be no formation damage because we add less than 1% of fraction fluid chemicals. 99% are the water, and only 1%, less than 1%, that is the chemicals. It's not going to cause any damage. Then I asked them a question. Yes, if you are fracturing the tide sand in the mid-industrial level, it might not causing potential from formation damage. But because we are coping with the nanopores, nanoshell in the nanoscale, so then even less than 1% fraction fluid chemicals additives, they are going to cause significant damage to the formation. Then this is why for the flowback, you might hear about for either shale gas or shale oil, the hydraulic fracture that you inject to the reservoir, you get less than 10% or 20% flowback. So where does the water goes? We can think about it. We need to flow back before oil production. If the water does not flow back but locked behind, then they are going to block the oil or gas behind it. Then we look at what kind of chemical component contributing to the potential blocking to the fracture surface. Number one is a friction reducer, because they are casing irons in the reservoir. Then when the fission reduce contact, then they aggregate. Then they like the fingers crossed together. Then they block the nanopores. If you can look at this, is the before adding the iron, after adding the iron, they fluctuated. Then they are going to block the nanopores. Number two is that some of the companies are still continue using the gel to increase the viscosity so that they can have a better proppant placement, and the proppant can go deeper into the fracture. But this kind of gel, they are going to absorb to the rock surface and the friction reduce. Why? Because for the shale formation, it has a relatively higher content of clay than the sandstone or the limestone. For the clay, they have clay molecules, like clay minerals. They have the largest surface area to the volume ratio. By doing that, then they're going to absorb to the surface, to the rock surface. Then the otherwise flowed back fracture fluid additive left in the shale formation, they're going to impair the fracture network and conductivity, and they are going to block the flow path for the future hydrocarbon molecules, and the low viscosity of the slick water might lead to the relative poor proppant placement. Our research partner did some fundamental research in the lab to research how the fission reduce absorb to the shale surface. Like this is by using SEM, it's a study how the fission reduce absorb to the shale cutting surface at a different resolutions: 300 micron, 200 micron, 100 micron, 50 micron. It shows that the friction reduce molecules absorb to the surface of the shale cuttings. Then it runs the NMR test. The red colors representing the pore, the blue color representing the HPAM. So it is simulating the process for hydraulic fracturing for about 2 hours for one stage. It's 20 minutes, 60 minutes, 150 minutes. Then you can see that the originally void space, the red color, most of them have been plugged in by the HPAM fission reducer. Then it's going to plug in the shale surface. We are talking about the fracture surface plugging by the fraction fluid chemicals. This like a simulating this is the water, this is the oil, and this kind of red curve representing the friction reducer or the gel, and then they plug in surface. Then this leads to the relative lower percentage of flowback and the relative lower EOR in not to getting more oil out. Instead of doing refracturing, we may think about we still have some oil left behind. This like the sky building in the downtown of Houston, for example, is if that 50 floors for hydraulic fracturing. We fractured 50 stages, but maybe 30 stages are still locked behind by the fraction fluid chemicals. So we are thinking about even for the floors already open, there might be some room. For example, in one floor, it might have 100 office. Maybe only 30 offices are open, connected to the elevator. The rest, 70 office, the door was locked by the fraction fluid chemicals. So our objective is to send in the nutrients to the fraction network and stimulated the induced bacteria to clean the fraction fluid chemical left behind and open the channel for the future hydrocarbon flow. The other factor, very important, but might forgot by most of the companies. There are some companies talk to me, said, we are getting rid of gel, so there is no damage, and we're using very little friction reducer. There is no damage. There might be friction reducer damage, but there is another thing is the emulsion. For the friction reducer was produced as water in oil emulsion. During the actual inversion step, the polymer is released from the water in oil emulsion, dropped into the carrier fluid, and the oil originally present as the external phase in the polymer emulsion becomes emulsified, forming an oil in water emulsion. I need to acknowledge Professor Bai in University of Missouri. Their fundamental research on this, I cited this from one of his PhD student. The emulsion particle size is 0.02 micron to 2 micron. They can block in the fracture like a 10 micron or 20 micron. So they're going to be there, and the emulsion is going to cause the plugin in the fracture network. But these kind of emulsions are the favorite food of the bacteria, because emulsion has much larger surface, has a much larger contact area between the bacteria and the emulsion. So the bacteria is going to degrade in them and converting then to CO2 and the water. Then it unblock in the reservoir. So the outcome of in summary, I think there are 3 fundamental factors contributing to the low EOR. Number 1 is the friction reducer fluctuation, blocking the fracture channels. Number 2 is the gel absorbed to the rock surface. Number 3 is the oil in water emulsion caused by the friction reducer. For the 3 of them, that was done by our research. For oil in water emulsion biodegradation, we have done a lot of research in that area. 100% we are confident we can degrade in them. Then for the gel and then for the friction reducer, we also did some research in the lab. Another thing we have to keep in mind that as the industry keeping aware of the produced water in the Permian Basin, most of the company, from the standpoint of cost saving and the environmental concern, they recycle the water that is excellent by using the produced water for hydraulic fracturing for doing new well fracturing. But for this kind of recycled water, it has very high salinity with various ions in they have a salinity like higher than 12%, 100 to 20,000 ppm. It has calcium, magnesium, iron, and it's easy. There are oil in water emulsion in the reused water. It's going to continue causing that damage. Very easy to cause fluctuation of friction reducer, additional emulsion, and plug in the microflux and the pores. And this is another reason we need to consider the biotechnology in new well completion and also an EOR. If you look at the research we did in the lab, we studied how the bacteria degrading the fracturing fluid and chemicals. We did the research by using the produced water we collected from the oil field to make the GUA in 2 conditions. One is the anaerobic. The other 2 are the aerobic conditions. Aerobic means there are like 10 ppm or 20 ppm air in this bottle. For anaerobic means that there is zero oxygen in it. So we tested that whether there is bacteria in the cyan color. The cyan colors are the bacteria already died by the by the chemicals. It shows before adding the nutrients to this kind of fracturing fluid, there is a few bacteria, but after adding the nutrients, after 7 days, the bacteria grow, and we measure the viscosity of the GUA. Is reduced by 95%. And then for the HPAM, this is the major composition for the friction reducer for anaerobic condition and the aerobic condition. Before adding nutrients, there are some bacteria pre-existing in the produced water. And then after 7 days, it shows the increase of the population of bacteria. But we cannot we cannot compare the difference of viscosity for the friction reducer before and after the treatment, because the friction reducer, the viscosity is very low. But then we're using another test to quantify whether the bacteria degrade or not. We're using the UV vis. Is equipment, is a device like a test how much light gets through the bottles. If the more the light gets through the bottles, the more the chemicals are getting degraded. If if all the light blocked by the chemicals, then that means the bacteria did not degrade the chemicals. Then you look at that. We did it on 3 groups: HPAM, Densin, GUA. It shows that for the group with nutrients and the indigenous bacteria, more light gets through the bottles. For the control group, less light pass through the bottles. That means it shows that HPAM also degraded by the bacteria. And there are a bunch of literature review about how the bacteria degrading the HPAM. In the field, we get we developed the project like this way. At the beginning, we get the fraction design, fraction report, and the fraction composition and the production history for the wells. And then we take the sample from the produced wells wellhead. Then in the lab, we design the formula to stimulate the indigenous bacteria. Then in the field operation, we injecting the nutrients to the wells. Like the volume, we inject like 5,000 barrel to 20 or 30,000 barrel water. That depends on how many stages you have. And shut in the well for about 7 to 10 days, and then resume production. We are going to look at the production decline curve. Based on the current conjecture field pilot, we can increase in the EOR by 10%. If we do it in the upscale, in the field scale, we can get better results. We did 2 pilot, one in the Delaware Basin, another one is in the Midland Basin. In the Midland Basin, that's a vertical fractured well with 4 stages. In Delaware Basin, that's a horizontal well, fractured by 20 stages. Let's look at the horizontal well we did in Delaware Basin. The true vertical depth is 9,800 feet. It's Wolfgang A. The lateral length is 4,580 feet. The fracture stage is 20 stages. Proppant intensity is 1,100 pound per foot. And the porosity is 7%. Permeability 800 nanodashi. This well was completed later 2014. By the time we do the treatment, the well has been producing for about 4 years. We did the treatment in July 2018. The initial production for this well, IP30, is about 625 barrel oil per day. By the time we do the treatment, the oil production is 80 barrel per day. The water production is 80 barrel per day. The water cut is 50%. The cumulative oil production is 174,000 barrel oil by April 2019. When we did that experiment, remember, this is a pilot. So pilot, this is only for research purpose to help us understanding whether injecting the microbial nutrients can stimulate the bacteria and help increase in production or not. So we inject only 500 barrel water with the concentration of nutrients 300 ppm. Then what the result? Why didn't I inject 5,000 or 20,000? Because we need to minimize the pressure built up. So we would like to look at if only 500 barrel inject into the well, what the production will look like. Then we minimize the number of days to 7 days, because if I shut in the well for half month or for 1 month, I cannot tell whether the production is contributing by the shut in of the well or by the bacteria itself. So we shut in the well for 7 days, inject only 500 barrel to minimize the impact of pressure buildup. Then we resume production after 7 days. The daily liquid production rate in the first month is increasing from 160 to 200 barrel per day, and then in the second month it's increasing to 300 barrel liquid per day. This is a daily liquid production, oil plus water. And then for at this time, for example, in in September 2018, the daily water production increasing from 80 barrel per day to 200 barrel per day. The daily oil production increasing from 80 barrel per day to 100 barrel per day. If you look here, the picture on the right, that is the daily oil production rate versus the cumulative oil production rate, oil production. If by using if it decline normally, then the EOR is going to be like 25, 26, maybe 265,000 barrel oil for this field. But if you applying the new technology, it uplifts the decline curve to the red trend line. Then you can increase the EOR by 9%. That is a 25,000 barrel oil. We injecting only 500 barrel. Then how much it cost? It cost less than $30,000, and get this number. If you look at the average liquid production for this well, 30 days before and after, 60 days before and after, 90 days before and after, you can see that 90 days, that's a peak time for the average liquid production uplift. Why? Even after resume production, it is still continuing increasing the liquid loading, because the bacteria, after we stimulating them, after we resume production, it does not disappear immediately. It still continues to grow within the next 3 months. So then it reaches the peak. It gradually degrading the fraction fluid chemicals or the oil in water emulsion. But because we injecting 500 barrel water, the injection rate like 5 barrel per minute, we believe it only go to the fracture at the heel, but not at the toe. So we treated maybe 1 or 2 fractures only. And if we treated the whole lateral for 20 stages, I expect the significant increase of the oil production. Here is another plot, shows the production history in the past 18 months from July to February 2018 to February 2019. We observed the new production decline curve like this way. So the incremental is 18,000. Conservatively, we adjust that. It's a new decline curve. So this means the biotechnology has some significant potential impact in the field. Let's look at another well. For the fractured vertical wells in the Midland Basin, this well has covered 2 pay zones. It fractured by 4 stages. The permeability is also very low, 0.05 millidarcy. It will complete a similar time as the horizontal well, late 2014. It produced for 4 years. The initial production rate was 108 barrel oil per day. The cumulative oil production is 13,300 barrel by July 2018. For this well, when we treated the well, it produced a liquid production like I remember it like 3 barrel oil per day, 3 barrel water per day. It produced for only 8 hours due to the low liquid production. So for this plot, the y-axis is a monthly liquid production rate, and the x-axis is a month. So you can see that the month we treated the 500 barrel liquid production, and then the second month 600 barrel liquid production, 600 barrel liquid production, and we inject 500 barrel. It shut in for 7 days. Then if you look at the liquid production for this well, the oil production increasing from 3 barrel to on average in 1 month to 8 barrel per day. We're using the monthly total production divided by 30 days. If you look at the peak production, I remember that about the peak date is about 10 barrel or 11 barrel oil per day. So it also uplift production decline curve. If you compare the liquid production loading rate, it continuously increasing the liquid production. And then if you look at the 18 months production data post-treatment, 18 months, originally goes like this with the black line, and now it goes with the new decline curve. It shows it uplifted that. So our objective is to unblock the reservoir and uplift the production rate. Then you are going to, as for the operation, how we are going to implement that in the field. Everyone is familiar with the fracture heating. When we fracture the child well, in order to avoid the fracture heating, then we need to shut in the mother well by injecting about 20,000 barrel water to the mother well to pressure build up. This is the kind of geomechanical standpoint. But then I'm thinking about maybe we need to make use of this kind of time window. When the operator fracturing the child well, when they inject in the water to the mother wells, I'm going to ask them then to add in some nutrients to the water, like it's 300 ppm, 500 ppm, or 800 ppm, or 100 ppm. That depends on the water composition, and then shut in the well before they finish after they finish in the fraction of the child wells, and then they resume the production for the mother wells. That's a very good time window we are going to make use of to do the half-ton puff. Number two option is to do the single well half-ton puff. If there is a well, the operator think that they wanna do the EOR, then we can go ahead to do that. The number three, if the operator believe that there is a potential formation damage caused by the fracture fluid chemicals, then why don't we add in the nutrients in the same time during hydraulic fracturing simultaneously, like this way, adding the nutrients from the low end of the pressure pump, and then mixing the nutrients with the fracturing fluid in real time. They are not going to cause any change of your fracturing fluid chemistry or physical property, because the nutrients stimulated the bacteria after 3 or 5 days. So after 5 days, you're already finishing your fracturing job in that stages. So this is a very, very important and a very useful technology if you add in that during hydraulic fracturing. That means when you start the flow back, the energy in the reservoir is very limited. As a geomechanical specialist, I would like to think about from the energy standpoint. Then you clean the fracture surface from the very beginning. The otherwise wasted energy for the hydrocarbon to overcome, they are going to save it for future hydrocarbon flow, because there's less field cake, there's less damage in the fracture network. Then your decline curve will be much slower, but not a rapid decline. Will decline slowly. Then you may have a much higher initial production plus slower production decline rate. In terms of the market, there are huge amount of wells in different basins. The map for EOR potential in this kind of downturn, when you think about change the game. We did the comparison between the gas and half-ton puff and we call the biotechnology EOR as ULTRSHALE, because our company out of recovery, we would like to get the last drop of oil. Production downturn, we shut in the well for only 1 or 2 weeks. There's no limit on the production. As the basin, there's no limit. The EOR uplift, for now, we inject only 500 barrel. We can uplift the EOR by 10%. And for candidate well, there was no limit on the daily production. As the cost is 50 to 200,000 a barrel, $200,000, not barrel. Or we can think about it, $20 per foot. The payout time by using gas half-ton puff is 9 to 12 months, but by using the technology is about 2 to 4 months. That for most of us, we can ensure that the payback is within 2 months. Another important thing compared to the competing against the drilling and the hydraulic fracturing, in this kind of downturn, when oil price about $20 or $30 per barrel, this is for this mathematical, you can say, if we drilling and completing new horizontal wells, we are going to spend $10 million. Then we get the flowing barrel about 1,000 barrel oil per day for the first half month. Instead of doing that, we're going to spend the $10 billion on 100 horizontal wells. Then we are going to get for each single well, for the full scale, we're going to 100 barrel oil per day. So for the 100 wells, we are going to get a 10,000 barrel oil per day. So that is the 10 times return, for flowing barrels. So that means instead of spending $10,000 to get the one flowing barrel oil, we are spending $1,000 to get one flowing barrels. So that is cut the cost significantly. So even the oil price continue $20 per barrel. This approach is still profitable in the Permian Basin. So it's time for a game change in developing the unconventional shale oil in the downturn of petroleum industry and economical depression caused by COVID-19. Any technology has a boundary. For our technology also has a boundary. Our boundary is that the salinity is better for the lower than 130,000 ppm. It is desirable for 150,000 or 180,000 ppm. It might be okay. That depends on temperature. And then for temperature limit, it should be lower than 90 C, that's 95 Fahrenheit. The desirable is the temperature below 180 Fahrenheit. It is the best. It is the best. So for most of the wells in the Permian Basin, it fit for that. Here with the geothermal temperature gradient in the US, you can see that the temperature gradient in the Permian Basin is less than 15 C per kilometer. So that's like yeah. So this fit for most of the area in the Permian Basin. Last, but the very important thing for fundamental research, I must admit that we understand some about that, but we still have a lot of things to not understand about why it succeed in the field based on the pilot result. We also did some other pilots in the tidal center oil reservoir, and we also get a positive results. So we are thinking we need to do some fundamental research in the field and in the lab. There are one major oil company and one independent oil company are interested in moving forward with us on the fundamental research in the downturn. So what we need to do in future in order to quantify the model, for example, you may ask me the question, how much water we are going to inject and what is the desirable concentration? I can answer that I don't know. We are do trial and error. So we are working closely with Rice University, with UT Austin, and with Harvard University, and with some research lab, and our lab to understanding the fundamental, to come up with a table candidate screening criteria to research rock bacteria and residual fluid chemicals interaction lab on the chip by using the microfluidic experiment. We are going to see if we do that on the rock, how the permeability get recover, how the conductivity get recover for the fracture network, how the capillary pressure change, how the wettability change, how the interfacial tension change, and then come up with a quantified mathematical model for half design and optimizing the field operation, then estimate the EOR and the production incremental and economic return. For the microfluidic experiment, that is the paper was accepted by SPE ATCE 2020. I wish we can complete the research even in this kind of time. Everyone is working at home. It really affected that. I'm not sure whether I can deliver this paper or not. We are trying the best. Yeah, a lot of research need to do. By doing this, we can watch how the bacteria degraded the fraction fluid chemical, how the bacteria degraded the oil and water emulsion, how it's going to clean the fraction network, how it's going to alter the wettability and interfacial tension by visualization. That's very cool, and we are working on it. Another very important thing we need to overcome is that we need to borrow the experience from refraction. I spent some years on refraction, so I'm borrowing the experience from the diverters. You know, refraction, they need to use in diverter to make sure the fraction fluid that go to the formation they want to fracture. Then for us, in order stimulating the indigenous bacteria, we need to make sure the water can carry the fraction fluid, can carry the nutrients to the formation. So for example, if we are going to inject in 20,000 barrel water mixed with the nutrient like 300 ppm, then we are going to do, after we pump in 5,000 barrel water, then we are going to add in some dosage of the diverters. Then followed by that, pressure build up, we are going to injecting the water again. Then another 5,000, then we using the diverter, make sure the water does not go to one or two single fraction, but not cover all the laterals. So we are going to do that, and we work closely with another diverter supplier on this to optimizing the process. Last is evaluate the effector. There are some company work on that by using the fibers. We would like to suggest the operator to pick the wells already install the permanent fiber in the wells to do the unconventional EOR pilot, so that they know before and after change of the production. They can also think about if there's no permanent fiber, they may think about using this kind of by using the wire line or coiled tubing to send the fiber to the wells to do the production profile before and after, so that they know what are the change of not only the change of a total. For now, we can only tell the total change of a daily oil production. We would like to look at the very high resolution. We'd like to see how much exactly change happened at each lateral, at each perforation, to prove that, and how much nutrient goes to each perforation to quantify the model. This is the ongoing research. We are working with another operator. Thank you so much. Hamo, I'm done. Hama? Ahmed? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you, G.
Oh,
This is
thank you.
Margaret. We can hear you.
Okay. Because someone said they cannot hear anything, but now, yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for your nice presentation. I think again we have a problem with Hamid connectivity. Unfortunately, all the questions have been forwarded to Hamid. There are some in the group that you maybe have access to answer. Go through them and answer them until I figure out what's happening with Hamid. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will. Let me see what.
Sorry about that, and I apologize.
Okay, I'm going to look at the questions from top. One question is to the administrator of the group. Are you going to share the record video with participants, because my call is not? Yeah, I will discuss that with Hammer. Number two, can you please share the presentation PDF? Yes, we can do that. We can send to Hammer, and then he can share with anyone. The PDF sharing depends on the. I can do that, no problem. Then it will be available to get the PDF members. There is no chelating. There's no chelating agent in agent. I don't know what that means. CHELA chelating. What is the cost of the method comparing to using CO2 as surfactant? The cost for this method is less than $100,000. That depends on scale. We usually calculate like $20 per fruit. Is much lower than the cost of CO2. But then for surfactant, I think it's 30% or 40% cheaper than surfactant. But the fundamental mechanisms are different from surfactant. Surfactant is based on the changing the wettability or reducing the interfacial tension. But our methodology is based on biodegradation of the potential formation damage caused by the fracturing fluid chemicals and oil and water emulsion. Placed in the pilot 1 in Delaware Basin, after stimulation and change the decline rate, we can see now it is lower. Why? The pilot 1, the decline we can see now is the decline rate gets slower because we unblocking the reservoir. The skin factor gets smaller, and then you have a less pressure loss when the hydrocarbon flow from the matrix to the fraction network. You have a less pressure loss, so then you have a lower decline rate. I would expect to get the same HQ decline. No, not you. I expect that after using the technology, you will have a lower decline rate. And is that possible? The nutrients are not happening, but the way the treatment is added is just remitting it in some of the scale formation. Yeah, the nutrients we added to the reservoir, stimulating the indigenous bacteria, and then these kind of bacteria are the bacteria we identified that can be stimulated to degrading the fraction fluid chemicals. Okay, remitting word scale and the formation. I think your point might be it's not treating the near wobble damage, but it's not treating the damage on the fracture surface, but treating the damage only near the wobble. This is a very good question. We have been thinking about we believe that is treating the fracture network, but near the wobble, because most of the water are locked behind the fracture, but not locking behind the wells. And for the fracture, the horizontal wells, because the near wobble is the fracture width is very larger. There should be very, very limited formation damage near the fracture, near the horizontal wells if it's fractured. Looking at the produced water, the microbe activity would electrate and increase in. Look at the produced water, the microbe would increase in respiration pipe. Yeah, that's very good. But due to the budget limit, we have no chance to analyzing the produced water chemistry or microbiology change. But in the next half year, we are working closely with the E&P operator. We are going to do this research. Thank you for the suggestion. And then what are the criteria and select the candidate well to use bacteria? I would like to say, number one, we are going to look at your fraction design. I will look at what kind of fission reducer you use, whether there is a potential oil and water emulsion, whether the potential fission reducer damage, whether you're using gel or not, or cross-link. As you know, by using breaker, even the major service oil company, the breaker can only break less than 40% of the cross-link gel. It cannot break 100%. Then the effect of bacteria on low salinity, and it is combined effect on heavy oil recovery. The bacteria can survive, can grow very well at a low salinity. Then for the effect on heavy oil, that is based on another theory. We need to stimulate a different group of bacteria because it's reducing the viscosity. But for light oil, it does not change the interfacial tension by a lot. We observed that it can reducing the IFT by about 30% for the light oil in the Permian Basin. But for heavy oil, it can reducing the viscosity by several orders, maybe 90% or something. Yeah. Can we apply microorganisms which take hydrocarbon as only carbon source? And this is a very good question. The microorganisms, they will degrade some of the volatile fatty acid in the hydrocarbon, but when there is a pre-existing of the gel or oil in water emulsion, it's like my son. If there is a dinner and there is a box of candies, my son will pick the candies, but not pick the food, because the bacteria love the gel. They love the oil and water emulsion, but not the oil itself. Yeah, like the kids love candy, prefer candy to the rice or the bread. Thanks. Okay, slide 26. Similar decline curve indicates that it does not change the production mechanism. It appears that it washes the gels and the surface defect, leading to a temporary boost in oil rate. Have you tried pushing the fluid into the matrix by pressurization? Have you tested this method in conventional reservoir, augmenting water with your nutrients? Yes, we are trying that for 20,000 barrel, and even by 20,000 barrel, it does not pushing the nutrients to the matrix. Currently, we are only stimulating we believe there are significant damage near the fracture surface. It's very difficult for the fracturing fluid chemicals penetrating to the matrix. So currently we focus on that, but it's very interesting to look at how it's going to change if we pressurizing the nutrients to the matrix, and we are working with an independent laboratory to working on it. Is there any company applying this technology in a pilot? Yes, we have several major oil company and international state oil company working on it. Currently, we finished 10 pilot already, and for most of them, we get a positive result. But we found that there are greater space for us to optimizing the procedure. For example, by adding the dialectical to. Sometimes we observe a phenomenon like this. After adding the nutrients, there is for the wells depleted. The oil production the oil cut is only 1%. The water cut is 99%. We found that we get 100% water, but we are thinking about we need using dialectical to introducing the nutrients to the undepleted formation, but not go to the depleted formation. Then we can get more oil out of the reservoir. Then why did you choose fiber optic surveillance in optimum? Because this is a post-treatment. The tracers cannot DNA sequencing. DNA sequencing looks very cool, but it cannot quantify how much oil contributing from each perforation. My point is, I would like to know how much nutrients solution go to each perforation or each perforation cluster, and what are the production rate change before and after the treatment from each perforation, and each preparation cluster. But by using tracers, it cannot give me the answer. It gives me the answer like how much water or oil production from each stages. But for the post treatment for half and half, I cannot guarantee how much tracers go to each stages. It cannot give me the answer. Or DNA sequencing, I think it's the same as the tracers. It cannot give me better answer as fiber. We think fiber optical surveillance should be the best for quantify the effect, even though that is experience. The picture is for Delaware Basin. What range of temperature does your method apply? I think the temperature below 185 Fahrenheit should be desirable. If the temperature above 185 Fahrenheit, I should be very cautious. I'm going to look at the salinity. For the salinity, I'm thinking about based on our ongoing research and the field pilot. I believe 180,000 ppm, we can also do that. What are the composition of the nutrients and how often? I'm so sorry, I cannot disclose the composition for the nutrients. For definitely different from conventional EOR. We spent 3 years on the fundamental research and with the grant from the government. We found out what kind of bacteria will love the fraction fluid chemicals and how efficient it can degrade in them. And how often is it used to attain EOR? That's a very good question. Like the half and half CO2 half and half, you may using that as 3 to 6 times for depleted wells. For the half and half by biotechnology, I guess we may try that for several times, because for each treatment we may not contact all the areas. And now we are developing a new kind of new type of nutrient that with a special technology. Then they can stay in the reservoir for about 1 year. Then you don't need to go back to the treatment. You just need to wait in. You can wait in there, and then it continues to grow. Is this a technology to temporarily increase in oil production? No, I believe this will permanently change the productive life curve, because it's a kind of a bioremediation process for your fraction network. Once you clean that, then your fraction network become it's unblocked. Then this kind of unblocking is a permanent unblocking, and then you are going to have a less pressure loss during production. Do you think we can do you think we can say this technique solve the problem related to fraction fluid and improve only the fraction network more than enhancing oil from rock matrix? I can say that we are open the door between the matrix and the fraction network. We may not go to the matrix. Do you think this technique works in Bakken formation? I don't think this technology works in Bakken. No, it's a challenge. And then, so it's not EOR, it's a what? Yeah, this is a good. Someone say that is stimulation process. Someone say that is EOR. Someone say that is IOR. Yeah, but no matter what, how we are increasing the production. The last question is, as you mentioned in one slide, antibacterial agents are added to the fraction fluid. How do these agents influence? Yeah, this is a very good question. If we're using that as during hydraulic fracturing, we are going to ask the operator not adding biocide, because the biocide will kill our bacteria also. But for the bacteria added by ourselves is going to help preventing reservoir souring, mitigating reservoir souring, and kill the enemy, kill the self-reproducing bacteria. So if the operator decided using our technology, they are going to get rid of the cost for the biocide. I remember the biocide cost for one hydrofluorescent well is like $30,000 or $50,000. So they can save that cost because the bacteria stimulated by us can control the reservoir soaring. So you don't need to worry about that. No, they are not. It's not. We are not. It's not going to cause reservoir soaring. It's going to mitigate the reservoir soaring, and actually we're using similar approach in offshore to preventing the formation of reservoir soaring, generation hydrogen sulfide. So you don't need to worry about that. This is the green technology to control reservoir soaring or mitigate reservoir soaring. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob, for moderating the meeting. There's one question left here on the list. They're asking about what are the criteria to select a candidate well to use bacteria?
I think the most important factor is the temperature. You need to pick the wells with temperature lower than 185 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
That is the criteria. Yeah.
All right. Any other question from the? I think. So let's thank our speaker again. Thank you, Jacob, and thank you all for your time today. Please accept our apology if the quality of the meeting was not as expected. Our next seminar is on Wednesday next week, April 15. It's by our industry expert, Dr. Cohen, from our team, Petrolern. The title of the talk is Technology Integration and Collaboration Lesson Learned from the U.S. Department of Energy. Please make sure you also follow us on LinkedIn to get all the updates for the past schedule and also the good news from us at Petrolern. And whenever you are, I wish you a good time. Stay safe and powerful, and hope to see you again next week. God. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. If you have any question, feel free to send an email to me. I will be very happy to answer the question.
We will be happy to moderate that too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Bye.